10 seconds. This audiobook will change how you set goals and how you act every day. Stay with me and you will learn clear steps that produce real results. You will get a simple system to pick goals, plan daily actions, and keep steady progress. Expect practical methods to remove distractions, measure outcomes, and push past fear. Each idea comes with concrete steps you can use today. What to do, when to do it, and how to keep going. You will hear real tactics for staying focused, building momentum, and recovering from setbacks. Hear the sounds of small wins and feel the steady rhythm of daily work as you follow these instructions. This program is for people who want change and are ready to act. Subscribe to Audiobook every day for more guides like this. Press subscribe now and start doing the work that gets results. Make this decision right now. Number 1. Clarify goals with extreme precision. Clarity is a merciless ally. When a goal sits vague inside the mind, be healthier, earn more, write a book, the energy that could turn into motion scatters in a dozen directions. Precision funnels that energy. It gives the brain a target it can lock onto, and a simple test. Is this action moving me closer or not? Begin by converting any wish into a single testable sentence that describes the outcome, the metric, and a deadline, a clear form that works every time. I will specific action so that measurable result by date. Example, I will publish 3 1,500-word audiobook scripts so that 3 complete audiobooks are ready for production by March 1, 2026. That sentence removes guesswork. It defines success in a way your future self cannot misinterpret. Precision feels surgical. Drill into the numbers and the details. How many minutes? How many pages? How many dollars? How many repetitions? Avoid vague verbs like improve or work on. Replace them with counts and time limits. Increase monthly revenue from $2,000 to $5,000. Run 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Read 20 pages every night. Add a clear deadline. Without a date, goals float. With a date, they become commitments. A deadline turns hope into obligation. After writing that sentence, spend 20 minutes defining the boundary conditions. Ask, what is inside my control? What is outside it? What resources are required? Who must be involved? What must be stopped to make room? This step is stoic and practical. It separates desire from strategy. If the goal demands resources you do not have, list the smallest set of resources that would make the goal possible and make a plan to obtain them. If the goal depends on someone else, change the language so your commitment focuses on what only you can do. Influence, persuade, prepare. Break the outcome into the first 3 milestones. Milestones are not vague checkpoints. They are precise, measurable steps that show progress and make success inevitable. For a creative project, the first milestone might be outline all chapters and write introductions for each by 2 weeks from today. For a business goal, the first milestone might be secure 2 paying clients at $500 each within 30 days. Each milestone must feel doable but not trivial. The aim is to create a chain of short, visible wins that build momentum. Reverse engineer the timeline. Start at the deadline and work backwards. If a goal requires 90 hours of focused work and the deadline is 60 days away, the math is simple. 90, 60, 1.5 hours per day. Commit to that daily minimum. If life often interrupts, schedule longer sessions, fewer days per week, rather than rely on inconsistent daily promises. Put the sessions on the calendar as non-negotiable blocks. A calendar appointment is a promise to yourself. Treat it like an appointment with someone you respect. The clarity of a scheduled action reduces the friction of starting. Create implementation intentions. Short conditional plans for predictable failure points. These are if-then sentences that pre-wire behavior. Example: if a workday reaches 8 p.m. and the daily target is incomplete, then do a focused 25-minute session immediately before bed. Or, if a client says no, then send a follow-up offering a smaller package within 2 days. Implementation intentions remove moralizing and drama. They convert obstacles into mechanics to be handled. Design micro-habits that map directly to the goal. Micro-habits are tiny actions, so small that resistance evaporates. 1 paragraph, 1 phone call, 5 push-ups, 10 minutes of research. The point is not to accomplish everything in that mini session, but to keep the muscle responding. Daily repetition compounds. 3 days of tiny actions create momentum. 30 days lock a habit into place. Anchor micro-habits to existing daily rituals. After the morning coffee, write 250 words. Before switching off the laptop, log the day's progress in a 2-line journal. Anchoring keeps the habit from floating away. Measure relentlessly and keep a single, honest scoreboard. Complicated trackers create busy work. A simple weekly scoreboard creates clarity. Use one metric that directly reflects progress toward the goal. For weight loss, it may be average weekly weight and body fat percentage. For income, it may be net revenue and number of leads. For a writing project, it could be completed sections or word count. Record the metric every day or every week at the same time. A visible trend line reveals whether the system is working. If the trend is flat or negative for 2 consecutive measurement periods, change something immediately. Not tomorrow, now. Precision demands feedback. Use a short ritual to begin every work session. The ritual should be sensory and brief. A stretch, 5 deep breaths, a cup of black tea, a 5-second scan of the target sentence that defines the goal. Sensory rituals anchor attention and shrink the launch cost of work. They are simple, repeatable cues that bring the body and mind into alignment. Make the ritual meaningful. Tie it to the goal with a line everyone can remember. The first 5 breaths are for focus. Repetition transforms this into a Pavlovian switch that signals the brain to work. Plan for friction and schedule margin. The Stoic sees obstacles as inevitable. The wise person plans for them. Add buffer time to deadlines and reduce daily targets when travel, illness, or emergencies appear. Build a weekly cushion, 1 day per week left intentionally lighter, where catch-up can happen. This reduces the shame spiral when things go wrong and keeps long-term momentum intact. Precision is not about unrealistic density, it's about realistic accounting for the unexpected. Create a pre-mortem. Imagine failure 3 months from now and write the reasons why the project failed. Be cruelly honest. List the internal causes: lack of discipline, perfectionism, unclear steps, and external causes: market shift, illness, family emergency. For each cause, create a mitigation plan. If perfectionism is likely, set a rule: ship a minimum viable version after 30 days, regardless of polish. If burnout is likely, design rest protocols, mandatory 2-hour breaks, and 1 full day off weekly. A pre-mortem prevents avoidable collapse. Align the goal with identity, not just outcomes. The most durable motivations are not extrinsic rewards, but identity shifts. Instead of saying, "I want to run a marathon," define the identity: "I am the kind of person who trains 4 times per week." Identity anchors behavior to self-image. Behavior then reinforces identity, creating a feedback loop. Write a 1-line identity statement and read it daily. Keep it present tense and specific. I am a reliable creator who publishes 1 long-form script every 2 weeks. Identity bridges the gap between desire and sustained action. Create accountability that bites. Share the precise sentence of your goal with one person who will check progress weekly. Worse, make the commitment public in a place where consequences exist: social media, a group of peers, a small paid accountability circle. Put skin in the game. Small financial penalties for missing commitments or public commitments that require proof create friction for inaction. The Stoic approach uses external accountability not to avoid responsibility, but to sharpen it. Finish each day with a short reflection ritual. Write 3 facts: what went well, what didn't, and the next actionable step. Keep it 2 lines. This creates a daily feedback loop and keeps the mind from accumulating vagueness into guilt. Over time, these micro-reflections reveal patterns. Certain hours are more productive, particular habits kill momentum, or specific clients demand more time than the return justifies. Patterns inform decisions. Precision without reflection becomes mechanical. Reflection without precision becomes mere thought. Together they produce adaptive action. When decisions arise, filter them through a single test. Does this move the metric toward the deadline? If yes, accept. If no, decline. This requires ruthless prioritization. A clear, precise goal makes saying no easy, because the test is objective. The Stoic discipline here is simple. The only relevant question is whether the action advances the chosen course. Finally, practice moral toughness and grit. Precision demands courage, because once a goal is turned precise, failure becomes visible. That visibility hurts, but it teaches faster. Treat setbacks as data rather than judgment. When a plan breaks, ask 3 questions. What happened? What did I control? What will I change now? Answering these dispassionately and quickly rebuilds momentum. Begin now with a single exercise that takes 20 minutes. Write the outcome sentence in the exact form described. Define 3 milestones with dates. Schedule the next 7 sessions in your calendar. Create 1 implementation intention for the most likely obstacle. Close the 20 minutes by writing a 1-line identity statement and reading it aloud. This is not theatrical, it is an act of alignment. Precision is a discipline. It demands small, consistent practices coupled with brutal honesty about progress. Use it, and every step forward will be clear, trackable, and irreversible. The path to shocking everyone begins with knowing exactly what shock looks like, what gets measured, and what is non-negotiable. Keep the sentence visible, keep the metrics honest, and let daily action do the rest. Number 2. Break tasks into daily actions. Breaking goals into daily actions transforms ambition into reality. Large goals, no matter how inspiring, often feel impossible because the mind cannot grasp them in one leap. $1 million revenue target, a 35-day writing project, or mastering a new skill in months can overwhelm the senses. The secret to progress lies not in the scale of the goal, but in the clarity of the next step. Every monumental achievement is simply a sum of carefully executed small actions repeated consistently. Begin by imagining the goal fully realized, then reverse engineer it into the smallest actionable pieces that can be executed today. Start with the end in mind and work backward. Identify the precise endpoint and then dissect the timeline into chunks small enough to manage. If the goal requires 80 hours of work over 6 months, break it down into daily segments. Instead of saying, write a book, define write 500 words today. The mind responds to what is actionable, not abstract. Small victories trigger motivation and generate confidence, while vague plans stagnate in indecision. Every daily task should have a measurable outcome, a clear yes or no. Did it get done or not? This binary clarity eliminates ambiguity and primes the brain for action. Once the tasks are defined, Sequence them logically. Identify dependencies. What must happen before the next step? For example, before drafting a full chapter, outlines and research must exist. If the goal is financial growth, one cannot finalize contracts without first identifying leads and establishing initial contact. Sequencing ensures that every action builds momentum instead of creating bottlenecks. When each step naturally leads to the next, effort becomes cumulative rather than scattered. A misaligned order drains energy, while a clear sequence amplifies it. Time allocation is critical. Assigning specific periods to tasks transforms intention into habit. The brain treats a scheduled activity differently than a vague "I should do this sometime." Commit to a consistent daily block for each activity. If the goal involves learning, dedicate an hour daily to focused study rather than attempting 5 sporadic sessions. Consistency leverages neural pathways. Repetition makes the behavior automatic. Small repeated actions construct the scaffolding upon which the entire goal is supported. Prioritize ruthlessly. Not all daily actions are equally powerful. Identify tasks that produce the highest impact relative to effort and make those non-negotiable. The Pareto principle is an essential guide here. Often, 20% of actions generate 80% of results. For a writer, drafting the core chapters may be far more consequential than designing the cover at this stage. For an entrepreneur, landing clients is more valuable than perfecting internal documentation. Actually, by focusing daily on the high-leverage activities, the path to the goal becomes significantly shorter. Daily actions must include accountability structures. Keeping track of completion and reviewing progress transforms intention into tangible results. A simple checklist or journal entry at the end of each day provides evidence of forward motion. Reflecting on daily progress shows where efforts succeed and where adjustments are needed. When action is measured and visible, laziness and procrastination become more obvious and easier to correct. The discipline of reviewing daily performance strengthens focus and internalizes responsibility. Avoid overloading any single day. Breaking tasks into daily actions is not about cramming as much as possible into one sitting. The brain and body have limits. Excessive work reduces quality and breeds resistance. Instead, create a rhythm. Focus on a manageable portion. Execute fully and allow the mind to reset. This pacing ensures sustainability. Long-term goals demand consistency more than intensity. A disciplined, measured approach wins over occasional bursts of extreme effort followed by burnout. Daily actions should be tangible and sensory. The mind responds to concrete experiences. Instead of abstract intentions like practice guitar, specify play scales for 20 minutes and record progress. Replace study marketing with read 10 pages of the assigned chapter and summarize in notebook. Concrete tasks engage attention and create a sense of accomplishment that vague tasks cannot. Success becomes visible, reinforcing motivation and building momentum toward the next action. Visual cues enhance adherence. Keep reminders of the daily action visible in the environment. Sticky notes on a desk, calendar alerts, or physical objects associated with the goal anchor memory and attention. The brain reacts to visual triggers more effectively than abstract intentions. Each cue acts as a nudge, lowering the friction to start the action. Over time, daily tasks transition from conscious effort into near-automatic behavior, freeing mental bandwidth for creativity and higher-order thinking. Integrate flexibility within structure. Life is unpredictable. Daily actions must be resilient to interruptions while retaining priority. If a day is unexpectedly packed, preserve at least one key task in reduced form rather than abandoning the day's progress entirely. Adjust the remaining tasks intelligently, ensuring that overall momentum remains intact. A rigid plan that collapses under minor disruption is less effective than a flexible plan that adapts but maintains purpose. Daily actions are the threads that, when preserved and woven consistently, create the fabric of achievement. Pair accountability with reward. Completion of daily actions should be recognized immediately. Rewards do not need to be extravagant. They can be as simple as a 5-minute pause, a brief walk, or noting the achievement in a journal. Immediate recognition reinforces neural pathways associated with accomplishment. Over time, completing the daily task itself generates intrinsic satisfaction, but early reinforcement accelerates habit formation and sustains morale. Develop anticipation for the next action. End each day by reviewing tomorrow's tasks and imagining completing them. Mental rehearsal reduces resistance and primes focus. The mind becomes familiar with the tasks before the day begins, making the first step less daunting. This forward-looking approach keeps the goal alive in consciousness and bridges the gap between intention and action. Anticipation converts obligation into a prepared and energized approach. Use checkpoints strategically. While daily actions focus on micro-movement, periodic reflection identifies whether these actions are aligned with the larger objective. Weekly reviews provide the opportunity to assess cumulative progress, refine task sequences, and reallocate effort to the highest leverage areas. Reflection prevents misalignment and ensures daily actions remain meaningful. Without these checkpoints, action can become busy work, producing the illusion of productivity rather than genuine advancement. Break complex tasks into subtasks. Even within a daily action, complexity can create hesitation. If a daily action feels overwhelming, subdivide it further. Write 500 words can become draft introduction, draft first section, draft second section. Breaking actions into smaller components reduces friction and makes starting almost automatic. The key is to maintain clarity. Each subtask is simple, measurable, and achievable within a short time frame. Anchor actions to personal identity. Daily execution becomes easier when it aligns with who a person sees themselves as. Viewing oneself as someone who completes tasks consistently or a reliable creator reinforces behavior. Identity-based motivation is far stronger than outcome-based motivation alone. Daily actions then become expressions of self, not chores to be endured. This alignment transforms the mundane into meaningful practice. Lastly, maintain relentless consistency. Success is less about extraordinary effort and more about repeated, deliberate action. The accumulation of small daily steps compounds into remarkable results. Some days will feel insignificant, but the sum of these days is what produces extraordinary outcomes. Daily actions are the heartbeat of long-term achievement. Without them, even the clearest goal fades. Precision and execution together guarantee momentum. By focusing on what can be done today, step by step, progress becomes inevitable, and the seemingly impossible transforms into reality. Breaking tasks into daily actions is the bridge between vision and accomplishment. Each day becomes a canvas for meaningful effort. By defining, sequencing, prioritizing, measuring, and reflecting on small, actionable steps, any grand goal becomes tangible. Momentum builds silently, consistently, and unrelentingly. The clarity and discipline of daily action create results that not only surprise others, but ultimately prove to oneself that nothing is beyond disciplined, deliberate effort. Progress is no longer accidental. It becomes predictable, measurable, and unstoppable. Number 3. Track progress and adjust consistently. Tracking progress and adjusting consistently is the engine that turns effort into results. Without it, action becomes aimless, and even the most disciplined routines can fail to produce meaningful outcomes. Monitoring progress is not a passive activity. It is an active, dynamic practice that sharpens focus, identifies blind spots, and keeps the journey toward any goal on a direct course. Every step must be visible, every misalignment must be noticed. The clarity gained from measurement transforms uncertainty into control and allows intelligent course correction before minor issues become major obstacles. Begin by defining the indicators that truly reflect advancement. These are not guesses or vague feelings, they are concrete signals of whether you are moving toward the intended outcome. For a creative goal, it might be pages written or chapters completed. For a business target, it could be revenue, client calls, or conversion rates. For personal development, it might involve the number of practice sessions completed or milestones in skill acquisition. Choosing the right indicators ensures that your energy measures something real and relevant, rather than drifting into busy work that gives the illusion of progress. Consistency in tracking is critical. Measurements are only valuable if they are recorded regularly and systematically. Daily, weekly, or monthly tracking intervals must be established depending on the nature of the goal. A daily tracker for small actions maintains momentum and reinforces habit formation. Weekly or monthly summaries provide context and perspective, allowing patterns to emerge. Recording must be honest, precise, and unemotional. Manipulating data to feel better about progress sabotages improvement. Accuracy is not about comfort, it is about truth and the ability to act on it. Visualization of progress amplifies motivation. Seeing a clear trend, whether upward or flat, communicates information to the brain in a way that abstract numbers cannot. Graphs, charts, or simple checklists offer visual feedback that triggers satisfaction when movement occurs and signals caution when stagnation appears. The sensory impact of watching progress accumulate can be profoundly motivating. Physical representations, like marking off completed tasks on a wall calendar, provide immediate feedback and tangible proof of effort, transforming into achievement. Reflection is intertwined with tracking. Every entry should be accompanied by a brief analysis of what went well, what did not, and why. This process creates a feedback loop, transforming raw data into actionable insight. Reflection prevents mindless repetition of ineffective strategies and encourages adaptive decision-making. If an approach repeatedly fails to move the metrics, the strategy must be rethought. The key is not perfection, but responsiveness. The ability to adjust based on honest assessment is what differentiates those who stumble from those who ultimately succeed. Small adjustments compound over time. A minor course correction today prevents a large failure tomorrow. If a daily target is consistently missed, break down the task further or redistribute effort rather than pushing blindly. For example, if a sales target is not being reached, analyze the approach. Are the hours used efficiently? Are the leads qualified, or is follow-up inconsistent? Adjusting methods in real time prevents minor inefficiencies from calcifying into major obstacles. Tracking without adjustment is mere record-keeping. Adjustment without tracking is guesswork. Together they create precise momentum. Develop multiple layers of tracking. Relying on a single metric can create blind spots. Complement your primary measure with secondary signals to build a complete picture. For instance, a writer might track word count as the primary measure, but also monitor research completed, outlines drafted, or revisions made as secondary measures. For an entrepreneur, tracking revenue is primary, while client satisfaction, engagement metrics, and lead response times serve as secondary signals. Multiple data points reduce risk, clarify causation, and improve decision-making. Incorporate review rituals into your system. A structured review process creates space for intentional reflection and adjustment. At the end of each week, summarize what was achieved versus the plan. Identify bottlenecks and friction points. Celebrate successes no matter how small to reinforce positive behaviors. Recognize failure or stagnation as data, not as judgment. End each review by selecting the highest impact adjustments to implement immediately. This practice conditions the mind to treat both wins and setbacks as constructive information rather than emotional highs and lows. Set thresholds for action. Define in advance what constitutes acceptable performance and what triggers intervention. For example, if a goal requires a minimum of 10 calls per day and fewer are completed for 3 consecutive days, an adjustment is mandatory. Schedule additional calls, refine scripts, or examine timing. Thresholds prevent drift and keep momentum alive. They also reduce the emotional burden of reactive decision-making because the rules for action are predetermined, removing guesswork and hesitation. Document both objective and subjective data. Objective measures are quantifiable, like numbers and percentages. Subjective measures involve personal judgment, confidence, focus, energy levels, or satisfaction. Both types provide insight into progress. Subjective data helps detect underlying causes of performance trends, such as fatigue, mindset, or engagement. Noticing patterns in mood, energy, and focus alongside hard metrics allows smarter adaptation, because the body and mind are the instruments driving the measurable results. Avoid punishing yourself for imperfect progress. The purpose of tracking is not to induce guilt, but to illuminate reality. Data is neutral. It tells you where the system is strong, where adjustments are required, and where effort is misaligned. Treat setbacks as signals, not as failures. Embrace the Stoic approach. The only relevant question is, what can I change now to improve alignment? This mindset turns frustration into fuel for action, rather than emotional distraction. Use tracking to inform planning. Weekly summaries guide allocation of effort for the coming week. Identify the high-impact actions that contributed most to progress and double down on them. Eliminate or reduce activities that consume time but produce minimal advancement. Tracking reveals leverage points and enables the efficient deployment of energy, turning consistent effort into compounding results. Transparency with oneself is non-negotiable. Avoid rationalizations or excuses when recording results. The honest assessment of data is a practice in personal integrity and discipline. When trends show underperformance, respond by adjusting methods, not by minimizing responsibility. This habit strengthens character while simultaneously improving outcomes. The act of seeing reality clearly, without bias or distortion, is foundational to mastery over both the self and external circumstances. Progress tracking also provides emotional security. Knowing exactly where you stand reduces anxiety and doubt. Instead of guessing whether you are doing enough or on track, you have concrete evidence. This clarity creates mental calm, allowing focus to remain on action rather than worry. In high-stakes or long-term projects, this stability can mean the difference between persistence and abandoning the goal under stress. Build adaptive flexibility into the system. Conditions change, obstacles appear, and sometimes strategies that once worked no longer produce results. Tracking metrics provides the early warning system. Adjustments may involve scaling up, refining processes, reallocating resources, or even pivoting the strategy entirely. The ability to respond intelligently rather than reactively is what transforms disciplined action into consistent success. Celebrate small milestones revealed through tracking. Each completed metric or checkpoint is evidence of capability. Acknowledging these victories reinforces behavior, builds confidence, and maintains engagement. Motivation is a finite resource. Tracking allows you to harvest it deliberately by seeing tangible proof of effort paying off. Lastly, maintain a continuous learning mindset. Tracking exposes patterns in success and failure. Treat these insights as lessons rather than evaluations of personal worth. Each adjustment, guided by honest measurement, is a step toward mastery. Over time, the combination of consistent tracking, disciplined reflection, and immediate adjustment forms a self-reinforcing cycle of growth. The clarity it provides transforms uncertainty into a predictable path, making even ambitious goals achievable through steady, intelligent, and relentless effort. Tracking progress and adjusting consistently converts aspiration into achievement. Each metric, each reflection, each adaptation compounds into forward motion that is tangible, measurable, and unstoppable. Through meticulous observation and responsive action, what once seemed distant and daunting becomes structured, visible, and within reach. This practice is the difference between passive hope and active creation, producing results that are undeniable and sustainable. Number 4. Eliminate distractions that steal focus. Distractions are the silent killers of progress. They creep in quietly, fragment attention, and slowly erode the energy necessary to achieve meaningful goals. In a world designed to capture attention at every turn, success depends on the ability to guard focus fiercely. The first step is recognition. Identifying what steals attention, noticing when it happens, and measuring the cost in time, energy, and momentum. Only when distractions are exposed can they be confronted and controlled. Every distraction falls into one of two categories: external or internal. External distractions are tangible interruptions from the environment. Notifications, social media, noise, clutter, or unsolicited communication. Internal distractions emerge from within. Wandering thoughts, indecision, boredom, or the lure of comfort. Both types diminish efficiency, but internal distractions are particularly dangerous because they masquerade as legitimate reasons to pause or procrastinate. The key to eliminating them is establishing an environment and mindset that favors sustained attention over immediate gratification. Begin by auditing your environment. Observe where your attention drifts most often. Does the phone beep repeatedly during work sessions? Do emails or messages constantly demand your attention? Are there visual stimuli that subconsciously pull your eyes away? Cluttered spaces can scatter mental energy just as effectively as digital interruptions. Once the sources are identified, implement practical containment measures. Silence notifications, set devices aside, and remove items that draw the eye unnecessarily. Physical organization translates into mental clarity, reducing cognitive load and freeing capacity for high-value actions. Time blocking is a critical strategy. Assign specific periods for focused work and enforce boundaries. Treat these periods as appointments with the most important person in the room, yourself. During these blocks, every non-essential interruption is off limits. The human brain cannot multitask effectively. Switching between tasks costs energy and attention. Structured periods allow deeper engagement, better retention, and higher quality output. Use timers or signals to delineate work sessions, and schedule breaks deliberately to restore energy. Digital distractions require specific strategies. Social media, email, and messaging platforms are engineered to capture attention endlessly. Combat this by limiting access during critical work periods. Apps or browser extensions that block distracting websites can enforce discipline. Place devices in another room or on silent mode. Schedule fixed times for checking messages rather than responding impulsively. By controlling when attention shifts, you preserve the integrity of focus rather than letting it be hijacked. Create rituals to enter a state of focus. Rituals signal the brain that work is about to begin, reducing initial resistance. This could be arranging the workspace, brewing coffee, stretching, or reading a motivational quote. These small preparatory acts anchor attention and create a boundary between distractions and deliberate work. Over time, the ritual itself becomes a cue that triggers mental readiness and concentration automatically. Internal distractions are managed through mindfulness and disciplined awareness. The mind will naturally wander, especially when a task challenges or bores it. Observing the wandering without judgment is the first step. When a thought arises that does not serve the task, acknowledge it and redirect focus intentionally. Mental discipline is strengthened by recognizing these patterns repeatedly and guiding attention back to the task at hand. Journaling or keeping a short distraction log can also reveal recurring internal interruptions and provide insight for prevention. Prioritize tasks by importance to reduce susceptibility to distraction. When the mind is occupied with a clear, compelling objective, there is less room for diversion. Create a concise list of what must be accomplished during a session and keep it visible. A defined path minimizes the temptation to drift into low-value activity. Start with the highest impact item first, when energy and focus are at their peak. Completing a significant task early generates momentum and reinforces attention discipline. Design your environment to reinforce focus. A workspace should be minimal, orderly, and conducive to deep work. Remove unnecessary objects, organize tools efficiently, and consider sound or light adjustments to reduce sensory interference. Even subtle changes, like a chair positioned away from distractions or facing a blank wall, can enhance concentration. The environment becomes a silent ally that supports the mind rather than competing with it. Incorporate regular, deliberate breaks. Continuous work without interruption may seem ideal, but the brain's capacity for sustained attention is limited. Scheduled breaks prevent fatigue, reduce restlessness, and maintain high-quality focus during active periods. Breaks should be intentional, brief, and restorative. Walking, stretching, or stepping outside for sunlight. Avoid passive distractions like social media or random browsing, as these defeat the purpose and reset attention inefficiently. Accountability amplifies resistance to distractions. Share goals and progress with someone who will check in regularly. Knowing that actions are observed externally strengthens the commitment to focus. Peer pressure can be used strategically to reinforce concentration, but the primary effect is internal. Maintaining pride in effort and reliability strengthens self-discipline. Adjust expectations about discomfort. Focusing deeply often triggers resistance, especially when a task is challenging. The urge to check the phone, snack, or drift mentally is natural. Recognizing that discomfort is part of the process allows it to pass without action. Attention is a skill refined by facing these moments repeatedly and choosing deliberate engagement over passive avoidance. Use visual cues to maintain alignment with priorities. Notes, lists, or symbolic reminders keep attention tethered to the goal. A single visible statement of intent, like a written affirmation or target metric, reduces susceptibility to irrelevant stimuli. Seeing a clear purpose at a glance anchors focus and strengthens commitment during moments of drift. Reduce multitasking to zero. Attempting to split attention between several activities is inefficient and mentally exhausting. Each switch requires refocusing and costs momentum. Commit to one meaningful task at a time until it reaches a natural stopping point or milestone. Depth of engagement produces faster, higher quality results and leaves less cognitive space for distractions to infiltrate. Recognize and remove hidden time wasters. Meetings without agendas, Habitual browsing, unnecessary notifications, or even well-intentioned social interaction can erode focus. Audit your daily schedule ruthlessly, eliminating anything that does not advance your primary objectives, often freeing even 30 minutes a day from low-value interruptions compounds into substantial gains over weeks and months. Cultivate mental clarity through physical and mental preparation. Adequate sleep, hydration, nutrition, and movement enhance cognitive endurance. Meditation or brief breathing exercise reduce internal noise and sharpen attention. A clear body supports a clear mind. Neglecting these fundamentals leaves the mind more vulnerable to distractions, even if the environment is optimized. Create consequences for distraction. Small, deliberate penalties for breaking focus reinforce discipline. For instance, if a task is abandoned mid-session, dedicate additional time to compensate or reduce leisure privileges temporarily. The Stoic approach treats interruptions as breaches of commitment to oneself rather than trivial errors. Consequences cement awareness of the cost of divided attention and strengthen resolve. Regularly review patterns of distraction. Tracking when and why attention falters reveals recurring vulnerabilities. Perhaps mornings are prone to digital intrusion, or post-lunch hours trigger fatigue and wandering thoughts. Armed with data, adjustments can be made to scheduling, environment, or task selection to reduce vulnerability. Consistent observation ensures continuous improvement. Finally, embrace focus as a skill, not a trait. It is cultivated, trained, and strengthened through deliberate practice. Each session of uninterrupted work compounds, increasing the brain's capacity to resist distraction over time. Mastery over attention translates directly into mastery over results. What once felt impossible, completing challenging projects, producing creative work, or executing high-stakes tasks, becomes achievable when distractions are eliminated systematically. Eliminating distractions is not a one-time act. It is a continuous process of observation, adjustment, and discipline. Each removed interruption, every redirected thought, and all intentional choices to preserve attention contribute to a larger trajectory of success. Focus is the currency of achievement, and protecting it allows effort to translate into tangible results, creating momentum that shocks expectation and proves capability. When distractions are mastered, energy aligns with purpose, and the path to goals becomes not only visible but inevitable. Number 5. Visualize success before every step. Success begins in the mind long before it appears in reality. Each action carries more weight when the brain has a clear image of the desired outcome. Visualization is not daydreaming or wishful thinking. It is a deliberate, precise rehearsal of achievement that primes focus, aligns behavior, and ignites motivation. By seeing the goal fully realized before taking each step, the mind creates neural pathways that guide attention, decision-making, and energy toward the actions that produce results. When used consistently, visualization transforms hesitation into certainty, confusion into clarity, and effort into measurable progress. Begin each task with a clear mental picture of success. This means imagining not just the end result, but the experience of achieving it. The sights, sounds, and feelings associated with completion matter. If the goal is to give a speech, visualize standing confidently, hearing the audience respond positively, feeling your voice steady, and noticing the pride in your posture. If the goal is finishing a project, imagine opening the final document, seeing it polished, and sensing the satisfaction of completion. The brain cannot easily distinguish vivid mental rehearsal from real experience, and this alignment enhances focus and performance. Break the visualization into sensory components. Sight is the most obvious, but hearing, touch, and even smell can be included. The more sensory channels involved, the more real the experience feels, and the more the brain prepares for authentic action. For example, imagine the texture of the pen in your hand while writing, the sound of a keystroke, the rhythm of breathing as you concentrate, or the faint scent of the environment where the task is being completed. Engaging multiple senses creates a rich, immersive rehearsal that enhances confidence and readiness. Visualization before every step increases precision in execution. When the brain already knows the shape of success, each decision along the way aligns with that image. Choices about timing, method, and intensity become easier because the mind is anchored in the outcome. Instead of acting blindly or reacting to circumstances, behavior becomes strategic, deliberate, and highly efficient. Success is no longer a distant abstraction, but a tangible reference point guiding every action. Combine visualization with micro goals. Before each small task, spend a brief moment imagining it completed perfectly. If the daily objective is writing 500 words, see yourself finishing each paragraph smoothly, reviewing it confidently, and understanding its role in the broader project. Micro-visualizations make even mundane tasks meaningful, reinforcing the connection between effort and outcome. They reduce friction and increase motivation, making consistency more likely. Mental rehearsal also strengthens resilience. By visualizing challenges and seeing oneself overcoming them, the mind anticipates obstacles with clarity rather than fear. If a negotiation or high-pressure situation is approaching, mentally simulate potential difficulties and practice responses. Imagine remaining calm, responding strategically, and turning setbacks into opportunities. The brain develops a readiness that reduces stress, enhances decision-making, and maintains performance under pressure. Pair visualization with physiological preparation. Sit upright, take deep breaths, and relax the body while forming the mental image. Posture, breathing, and alertness influence the brain's ability to sustain focus and make the visualization more compelling. When the body and mind are aligned, the rehearsal is more vivid, and the transition to actual execution becomes seamless. Action flows naturally because the body has already experienced success internally. Create consistency by visualizing at the same time each day. Morning or pre-task rituals are ideal moments. Repeated practice strengthens the habit and embeds the neural patterns deeply. Short, focused sessions of 1 to 5 minutes are sufficient if performed deliberately and regularly. Over time, the mind automatically begins to simulate success as soon as the day or task begins, reducing hesitation and increasing energy. Visualization sharpens attention on priorities. When each step is mentally rehearsed in alignment with the desired outcome, unnecessary tasks or distractions become more apparent. Choices that do not serve the goal lose significance, while high-value actions naturally rise to the forefront. The process filters noise from meaningful effort, creating a mental roadmap for every day. Use mental imagery to rehearse timing and sequence. Not only should the end result be clear, but also the method of reaching it. Imagine the order in which steps are executed, the smooth transitions between actions, and the pace required. This pre-exposure prepares the brain for real-world execution, reducing errors, inefficiency, and hesitation. Complex projects become manageable because the mind has already walked through the path. Incorporate emotional elements into visualization. Feeling pride, satisfaction, relief, or excitement during mental rehearsal strengthens motivation. The brain craves these emotions and will subconsciously guide action toward producing them. If completing a task feels rewarding internally before it is done externally, effort becomes easier, resistance diminishes, and endurance increases. Emotional rehearsal accelerates habit formation because the mind associates effort with positive reward. Visualization reinforces confidence. Repeated mental rehearsal creates familiarity, reducing fear and uncertainty. When the mind has already seen the task accomplished multiple times, real execution feels natural rather than intimidating. Confidence is built not by avoiding difficulty, but by preparing for it mentally, seeing success clearly, and trusting that consistent effort will produce the desired result. Refine visualization through iteration. The first mental rehearsal is rarely perfect. Adjust the image to make it more accurate, vivid, and actionable. Add missing details, correct errors in imagined execution, and enhance sensory richness. Iterative improvement ensures that each rehearsal increasingly mirrors reality, making the mind and body more prepared to perform at a high level. Combine visualization with planning. After imagining success, translate the image into concrete steps. What action must be taken first? Which resources are required? What obstacles might appear, and how will they be overcome? Visualization becomes more than imagination. It becomes the foundation for a structured, realistic, and actionable plan that aligns daily behavior with long-term objectives. Mental rehearsal also reduces procrastination. By experiencing success in advance, the mind gains a sense of inevitability and readiness, decreasing the internal resistance that often causes delay. Starting a task becomes simpler because the brain has already tasted completion and recognizes the process as achievable rather than overwhelming. Link visualization to identity. See yourself not just achieving a goal, but embodying the person who naturally accomplishes it. Imagine being the reliable writer, disciplined entrepreneur, or skilled athlete who consistently produces results. Identity-driven visualization reinforces behavior because actions are not external obligations. They are expressions of who you are. Each task becomes a reflection of self, making effort more natural and sustainable. Use visualization to strengthen decision-making. When every action is mentally rehearsed in alignment with the desired outcome, choices become guided by clarity rather than impulse. The mind automatically filters options, selecting those that best advance progress. Ambiguity diminishes, and strategy becomes second nature. Mistakes are reduced, and energy is allocated where it produces the greatest impact. Finally, integrate visualization into execution seamlessly. Begin each step with a brief, focused mental rehearsal, then move immediately into action. The bridge from imagination to reality is instantaneous because the mind has already experienced the desired outcome. Tasks are no longer approached hesitantly or without direction. Instead, every move is informed, intentional, and energized by a clear picture of success. Visualizing success before each step transforms effort into certainty. It prepares the mind, aligns the body, and strengthens the emotional and cognitive framework necessary for achievement. By repeatedly imagining accomplishment, rehearsing challenges, and feeling the associated emotions, each action becomes deliberate, precise, and high impact. The practice turns abstract goals into lived experiences in advance, making the actual work more manageable, efficient, and inevitable. Consistency, clarity, and sensory immersion ensure that mental preparation directly produces real-world results, making achievement both predictable and powerful. Number 6. Use accountability to stay motivated. Accountability is the fuel that transforms intention into consistent action. Motivation alone is fleeting. Even the strongest willpower wanes under pressure, distraction, or fatigue. Accountability provides external and internal pressure that sustains effort when natural enthusiasm diminishes. It converts abstract goals into commitments that demand follow-through. Without accountability, ideas remain plans, and energy dissipates into tasks that are delayed or ignored. With it, every step becomes deliberate, measured, and persistent. Start by identifying someone whose judgment you respect and who will follow through on monitoring progress. This person can be a mentor, a peer, a coach, or even a friend who understands your objectives and values your success. The critical element is trust and honesty. They must see your results accurately and provide constructive feedback rather than simple praise. Sharing your goal with someone who will observe the process creates a sense of responsibility. You are no longer pursuing a goal for yourself alone. You are answerable to another mind invested in your outcomes. Define the form of accountability. It can be a weekly check-in, a daily message, or a shared progress log. The method should be structured, measurable, and consistent. Vagueness weakens accountability, turning it into a vague sense of obligation that can be ignored. Clear expectations, scheduled reviews, and observable metrics make the system effective. For instance, a weekly report of completed tasks, metrics, or milestones creates a tangible record of effort. The brain responds to such external signals more strongly than it does to self-directed intention alone. Combine accountability with transparency. Hiding shortcomings or embellishing progress undermines the process. The power of accountability lies in truthful reporting. Admitting where effort fell short is not failure. It is an opportunity to adjust and improve. The person holding you accountable acts as both a mirror and a guide, reflecting reality and offering direction. Over time, transparency strengthens self-discipline because repeated honesty becomes internalized, reinforcing a personal standard of integrity. Accountability is most effective when paired with consequences. Consequences do not have to be severe, but must be meaningful. They create stakes that reinforce behavior. For instance, missing a target might require compensating with extra work, contributing to a communal effort, or adjusting privileges. The knowledge that actions carry consequences produces a mental environment in which commitment is more likely to endure. It transforms motivation from optional to necessary. Utilize public accountability strategically. Announcing intentions to a group, team, or community multiplies commitment. Social pressure and visibility amplify effort, because the mind seeks consistency between public statements and private actions. Peer recognition or even subtle social expectation can motivate performance far beyond what internal resolve alone can sustain. The act of publicly committing creates psychological friction against inaction. Break goals into reportable metrics. Accountability works best when progress is quantifiable. Abstract statements like, "I will do better," have little effect. Concrete, measurable indicators such as, "I will write 1,000 words daily," or "I will make 5 sales calls per day," allow both the individual and the accountability partner to assess effort objectively. Quantifiable metrics remove ambiguity, prevent self-deception, and create a structure for meaningful feedback. Short feedback loops increase effectiveness. Waiting too long to review progress diminishes impact. Daily or weekly reporting ensures that effort remains fresh in the mind and that adjustments can be made promptly. Frequent feedback reinforces habits, allows course correction, and strengthens discipline before patterns of inaction solidify. The immediacy of feedback is more potent than distant evaluation, creating momentum rather than delay. Accountability also shapes mindset. Knowing that progress will be observed shifts behavior from casual effort to deliberate practice. Each decision, task, or action is filtered through the lens of responsibility. You are more likely to maintain focus, follow through on commitments, and resist distractions when aware that effort is being monitored. Accountability fosters vigilance and conscientiousness, qualities essential for sustained achievement. Accountability partners can also serve as sources of guidance and insight. Beyond monitoring, they provide perspective, suggest alternative strategies, and challenge assumptions. Engaging with someone who questions, critiques, and advises elevates performance by revealing blind spots and encouraging innovative solutions. The process becomes not just about pressure to perform, but about improving effectiveness. Implement a reward system alongside accountability. Recognition, praise, or tangible rewards for achieving milestones reinforces positive behavior. The combination of external observation and rewards strengthens motivation through both pressure and encouragement. Celebrating progress maintains morale, ensuring that effort remains consistent over long periods. Rewards do not have to be extravagant. The key is reinforcement that links effort with positive outcomes. Leverage technology to enhance accountability. Shared documents, progress tracking apps, or automated notifications provide evidence of action and facilitate timely review. These tools reduce friction in reporting and ensure that records are accurate, accessible, and up-to-date. The integration of simple digital tools allows accountability to operate continuously, even when physical proximity is not possible. Self-accountability is the internal extension of external oversight. Keeping personal logs, maintaining detailed journals, or tracking metrics independently creates self-reflective pressure. It develops the habit of responsibility even in the absence of an external observer. Over time, internalized accountability becomes automatic, strengthening resilience and reliability. The combination of external and internal systems forms a robust framework that maintains consistency across circumstances. Use accountability to confront avoidance behavior. When tasks are resisted, excuses are made, or procrastination appears, accountability acts as a corrective. It forces acknowledgement of inaction and provides a structure for remedying it. Avoidance is neutralized because every lapse becomes observable and actionable rather than hidden and accumulating. This transforms discomfort or resistance into a catalyst for focused effort. Balance accountability with autonomy. While external observation is vital, over-reliance can create dependence. The ultimate goal is to internalize discipline so that effort continues regardless of external presence. Begin with strong external accountability and gradually cultivate personal responsibility. This combination ensures that motivation is durable and adaptable, capable of sustaining progress even when oversight is reduced or absent. Accountability cultivates resilience under challenge. When obstacles appear or results are slower than expected, the pressure to report progress prevents abandoning effort. The brain becomes conditioned to persist, adapt, and maintain standards, even when immediate gratification or easy avoidance is tempting. This resilience is not accidental. It is built through repeated practice, structured feedback, and visible responsibility. Refine accountability strategies over time. Not all methods produce equal impact. Experiment with frequency, intensity, and form of reporting. Adjust accountability partners or mechanisms as needed to maintain maximum effectiveness. Continuous optimization ensures that the system evolves alongside goals, maintaining relevance and sustaining engagement. Finally, accountability creates a bridge between vision and reality. Goals are abstract without consistent oversight and reinforcement. Through structured observation, honest reporting, and deliberate consequence, effort is translated into measurable results. Each completed step, each verified action, and each milestone achieved builds momentum, reinforces discipline, and proves that consistent progress is possible. Accountability does not replace effort. It amplifies it, converts intention into action, and strengthens the character necessary to achieve extraordinary outcomes. Using accountability to stay motivated ensures that energy remains focused, effort remains consistent, and results become inevitable. By combining external oversight, self-reflection, measurable metrics, and constructive feedback, every step toward a goal becomes deliberate, visible, and powerful. Accountability transforms motivation from a fleeting spark into an enduring engine that drives achievement, sustains discipline, and creates results that cannot be ignored. Number 7. Celebrate small wins for momentum. Momentum is the force that transforms consistent effort into extraordinary results, and celebrating small wins is the mechanism that sustains it. The journey toward a significant goal is rarely a straight path. Challenges, setbacks, and moments of doubt are inevitable. Without deliberate recognition of progress, motivation diminishes, energy falters, and the mind begins to question whether the effort is worthwhile. Small wins act as evidence that action is producing results, reinforcing commitment and energizing the mind for the next step. They bridge the gap between where you are now and where you ultimately want to be, making progress visible, tangible, and emotionally meaningful. Begin by defining what constitutes a small win in the context of your goal. It is not necessary for the win to be monumental or transformative. Completion of a daily task, reaching a mini milestone, or overcoming a specific challenge counts. The key is that the win represents forward motion and demonstrates that effort produces results. By identifying these incremental victories in advance, you create a system for noticing and valuing progress instead of waiting for the distant final accomplishment to feel satisfied. Acknowledge each small win immediately. Recognition must be timely to have impact. The brain reinforces behavior most effectively when rewards or positive feedback occur close to the action that generated it. If you complete a step toward a project, take a moment to mentally note, write down, or physically mark the achievement. This acknowledgement converts effort into a sense of accomplishment, creating a positive feedback loop that encourages repetition. Ignoring small wins delays gratification and weakens motivation, while recognition magnifies energy and reinforces discipline. The emotional component of celebration is critical. Small wins must be experienced fully, not merely noted. Feel the pride, satisfaction, or relief that accompanies the achievement. These emotions strengthen the association between effort and reward, increasing the likelihood that the brain will repeat the behaviors that led to success. By internalizing the experience, the mind begins to anticipate positive feelings with each completed step, creating intrinsic motivation that sustains momentum even in the absence of external praise. Documenting small wins enhances their power. Keeping a journal, checklist, or visual record creates a tangible representation of progress. Writing down achievements makes them real, and reviewing them provides a clear sense of cumulative movement toward the ultimate goal. Over time, this documentation becomes a powerful motivator, demonstrating that even on difficult days, consistent effort produces results. The accumulation of small victories becomes visible, reinforcing commitment and minimizing discouragement from temporary setbacks. Celebrate in ways that resonate personally. The form of recognition does not need to be elaborate or external. A simple acknowledgement, a brief pause to reflect, or a small personal reward is sufficient. The key is that the celebration reinforces the behavior that produced the win. Linking a positive emotional response to each step strengthens habit formation and creates a resilient, self-reinforcing cycle of action and reward. Small wins also serve as markers for strategy evaluation. When a step is completed successfully, it validates the approach and provides confidence in the method being used. Conversely, if the process leading to the win was difficult or inefficient, the achievement allows for reflection and refinement of techniques. Recognition of progress does not preclude critical assessment. Rather, it creates a platform for informed, confident adjustments without eroding motivation. Sharing small wins with others amplifies their impact. Communicating progress to a supportive community, mentor, or accountability partner enhances both external validation and personal satisfaction. Social acknowledgement strengthens emotional reinforcement and creates an additional layer of motivation. Knowing that others are aware of effort and achievement increases the commitment to continue performing at a high level, building momentum that extends beyond personal experience. Balance celebration with focus. While recognizing achievements is essential, it must not disrupt the flow toward the next objective. Small wins are intended to energize, not distract. The process involves acknowledgement, emotional engagement, and reflection, followed by immediate realignment with subsequent steps. Momentum is preserved when celebration is brief, intentional, and purposefully integrated into the progression of effort. Visual cues can enhance the experience of small wins. Marking progress on a chart, moving a task card, or checking an item off a list creates a sensory confirmation of accomplishment. These cues provide tangible evidence of movement, which reinforces the psychological effect of celebration. Physical or visual recognition of progress reinforces neural patterns associated with achievement, making continued effort more automatic and less reliant on fluctuating motivation. Small wins are particularly important during extended or challenging projects. Large goals often feel distant, creating fatigue or discouragement. Recognizing incremental victories prevents overwhelm by breaking the journey into manageable, meaningful moments. Each step forward becomes a proof point, a signal that the path is navigable and progress is tangible. This perspective prevents the mind from fixating on the enormity of the end goal and instead emphasizes the attainable steps along the way. Integrate reflection into the celebration of small wins. Briefly analyzing what actions led to the victory deepens understanding and strengthens skill development. Recognizing patterns, strategies, and habits that produced results allows for intentional replication. The combination of acknowledgement and insight transforms minor achievements into learning opportunities, accelerating growth and increasing efficiency in subsequent tasks. The anticipation of small wins can also be motivating. Designing tasks so that progress is visible throughout execution maintains energy and focus. Rather than waiting for a single distant payoff, structuring goals to produce frequent milestones ensures that motivation is sustained continuously. The mind thrives on recognition of advancement, and deliberate structuring of small victories ensures that effort is continuously reinforced. Avoid dismissing minor achievements as insignificant. Momentum is built from accumulation. Each small victory compounds over time, producing exponential results that far exceed the apparent impact of individual steps. Underestimating the value of incremental progress is a common trap that reduces morale and slows growth. Conscious recognition of each movement forward amplifies cumulative momentum and strengthens confidence. Pair small wins with tangible rewards occasionally. While intrinsic motivation is primary, physical or symbolic rewards can further reinforce behavior. These rewards should be proportional to the effort and meaningful to the individual. A small treat, a brief break, or an enjoyable activity following completion of a task enhances the emotional reinforcement associated with success, creating a positive cycle of effort, reward, and motivation. Use small wins to reinforce discipline during setbacks. When progress slows or challenges arise, reviewing and celebrating recent achievements reminds the mind of capability and reinforces persistence. This practice combats discouragement and maintains momentum, emphasizing that effort consistently produces results even under adverse conditions. Each victory, however small, is evidence of capacity and potential, strengthening resilience and sustaining engagement. Momentum built through small wins also accelerates confidence. When steps are consistently completed, the mind internalizes the pattern of success, reducing doubt and hesitation. Confidence becomes habitual rather than conditional, allowing actions to be executed with energy, clarity, and decisiveness. Each achievement validates effort, creating an upward spiral in which action and self-belief mutually reinforce one another. Finally, view small wins as integral threads in the fabric of ultimate success. They are not trivial, they are essential elements that transform effort into sustained momentum. By deliberately noticing, acknowledging, reflecting upon, and occasionally rewarding incremental progress, the journey toward any goal becomes not just manageable but energizing. Momentum is sustained, motivation reinforced, and each subsequent step approached with clarity and determination. The cumulative effect of consistently celebrating small wins creates an unstoppable drive toward the full realization of goals, ensuring that the path to achievement is continuous, deliberate, and deeply rewarding. Celebrating small wins creates momentum that is tangible, sustainable, and emotionally reassuring. Every step forward, no matter how minor, becomes evidence of capability and progress. By recognizing and amplifying these moments, energy is preserved, discipline is strengthened, and the journey towards significant achievements becomes not only possible, but inevitable. Number 8. Learn relentlessly from every failure. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is an essential part of the path toward it. Every person who achieves extraordinary results has encountered setbacks, made mistakes, and faced moments where plans collapsed. What separates those who ultimately succeed from those who give up is the willingness to extract lessons from failure, to analyze it without ego, and to transform each misstep into fuel for growth. Learning relentlessly from every failure is a conscious, disciplined process that converts temporary defeat into permanent advantage. The first step is to adopt the proper mindset. Failure is not a verdict on worth or ability, it is information. Each unsuccessful attempt carries signals about what works, what doesn't, and what must be improved. Viewing mistakes as data rather than judgment removes fear and defensiveness, allowing the mind to respond rationally. This perspective reframes challenges as opportunities, creating an environment where curiosity and problem-solving flourish instead of discouragement. Immediate reflection after a setback is crucial. When a failure occurs, step back and examine the circumstances objectively. Ask questions such as, what decisions led to this outcome? Which assumptions were incorrect? What could have been anticipated? Identifying the specific causes of failure provides clarity, preventing the repetition of the same mistakes. Without such analysis, failure remains random, uninformative, and demoralizing. With it, failure becomes a roadmap for refinement and smarter action. Document failures in detail. Writing down what went wrong, why it happened, and the observed consequences creates a permanent record for future reference. This documentation transforms ephemeral experience into concrete knowledge. Reviewing past failures periodically highlights patterns that might otherwise be invisible, revealing consistent gaps in judgment, preparation, or execution. The accumulation of these insights builds a framework for smarter decisions, strategic adjustments, and increased resilience. Separate emotional reaction from analytical response. Initial disappointment, frustration, or self-doubt is natural, but dwelling in these emotions can cloud judgment. Allow yourself to feel disappointment briefly, then shift into the role of observer and investigator. This disciplined separation ensures that reflection is productive rather than reactive, turning energy that could otherwise be wasted on regret into constructive insight. Focus on actionable takeaways. Learning from failure is only effective if it translates into change. Identify clear adjustments to strategy, behavior, or execution that can be implemented immediately. This might involve altering methods, reallocating resources, improving skills, or strengthening preparation. Each failure, when paired with deliberate adjustments, becomes a catalyst for measurable improvement, increasing the likelihood of success in subsequent attempts. Cultivate humility through failure. Every setback exposes limitations, gaps in knowledge, or areas for improvement. Embracing these truths without defensiveness strengthens character and expands capability. Humility allows openness to feedback, willingness to adapt, and avoidance of repeated errors. It creates mental flexibility, enabling learning from experiences that might otherwise be dismissed or overlooked. Normalize failure as part of progress. When setbacks are accepted as natural milestones rather than anomalies, the fear that often paralyzes action diminishes. This normalization encourages experimentation, risk-taking, and innovation, all of which are essential for achieving extraordinary results. A mindset that fears failure too intensely limits growth. A mindset that anticipates learning from failure accelerates mastery. Engage others in learning from failure. Mentors, peers, or colleagues can provide perspective, identify blind spots, and suggest alternative approaches. External input often uncovers elements of a mistake that are invisible from the individual's viewpoint. Sharing lessons not only enhances personal growth, but also strengthens relationships, creating a culture of learning and accountability that extends beyond personal experience. Analyze timing and context. Failure is often influenced not only by personal action, but also by external circumstances. Understanding the environment in which failure occurred provides a more complete picture of causation. Timing, market conditions, team dynamics, or unforeseen obstacles all play a role. Recognizing these factors allows for better preparation, smarter anticipation, and refined execution in future attempts. Focus on patterns rather than isolated events. One-off failures may be circumstantial, but recurring mistakes reveal deeper systemic issues. Detecting these patterns allows the implementation of structural changes, skill development, or strategic pivots. By addressing root causes, the learning process becomes more effective and repeated missteps are minimized. Practice resilience as part of the learning process. Each failure tests perseverance, mental strength, and commitment to the goal. By facing setbacks and continuing to act with discipline, resilience is strengthened. This capacity to persist despite obstacles transforms adversity into a training ground for mental toughness, ensuring that challenges no longer derail progress, but instead sharpen determination. Develop the habit of experimentation. Viewing failure as a form of testing allows each misstep to provide insight without diminishing confidence. Treating actions as experiments reduces fear of mistakes because outcomes are framed as data rather than judgment. This approach encourages creativity, flexibility, and strategic risk-taking, accelerating growth and enabling breakthroughs that cautious or fearful behavior would never produce. Extract lessons beyond immediate goals. Failures often contain insights applicable to other areas of life or work. Skills learned, processes refined, and mental strategies developed in response to one setback can be transferred to different contexts. By broadening the scope of learning, each failure produces compounded value, turning a single misstep into multiple opportunities for improvement. Avoid rationalizing or minimizing failure. Excuses or denial prevent insight from emerging. Honest acknowledgement of responsibility, even partially, is essential for learning. Rationalization delays progress, reinforces flawed thinking, and perpetuates errors. Full acceptance of responsibility allows the mind to analyze the situation accurately, extract lessons, and plan corrective action effectively. Use failure to build humility and success. Recognizing the lessons embedded in setbacks ensures that future achievements are grounded in awareness rather than arrogance. Each victory is tempered by knowledge of what could go wrong and how obstacles were overcome. This balanced perspective enhances decision-making, maintains focus, and ensures that success is sustainable. Reframe failure as temporary and educational rather than permanent and defining. Every misstep is a moment in a continuum, not a final verdict on ability or potential. Seeing failure as a transient event reinforces persistence, reduces fear, and encourages continued action. The mindset that mistakes are stepping stones rather than dead ends fosters courage, energy, and proactive problem-solving. Celebrate progress in learning from failure. Recognize the skill and insight gained from analyzing mistakes. The ability to extract knowledge, adjust strategies, and implement improvements is itself a significant achievement. This recognition reinforces the habit of learning, strengthens confidence, and maintains momentum, transforming setbacks into instruments of growth rather than sources of discouragement. Finally, integrate lessons learned into systems and habits. Adjust routines, refine strategies, and develop practices that prevent repeated errors. Document processes, refine checklists, and create safeguards informed by past failures. Over time, these structural adjustments reduce vulnerability to setbacks, enhance efficiency, and ensure that learning from failure is institutionalized rather than incidental. Relentless learning from every failure is the engine of mastery. Each setback, approached with curiosity, discipline, and humility, becomes a source of intelligence, insight, and momentum. By analyzing causes, extracting actionable lessons, and applying them consistently, mistakes are transformed from obstacles into accelerators. The willingness to face failure, understand it, and improve in response creates resilience, sharpens skill, and ensures that effort increasingly translates into consistent, extraordinary results. Mastery is built not in the absence of failure, but through the deliberate, unyielding pursuit of learning from it. Number 9. Push beyond comfort zone limits. Growth and extraordinary achievement are born on the edge of discomfort. Remaining within the boundaries of what is familiar and safe ensures comfort, but guarantees stagnation. To reach meaningful goals, every individual must confront resistance, embrace uncertainty, and deliberately stretch beyond personal limits. Pushing past comfort zones is not reckless action. It is a disciplined, calculated choice to challenge the mind and body, expand capability, and redefine what is possible. The process transforms fear into opportunity, hesitation into action, and limitation into growth. The first step is recognizing where comfort ends. Identify habits, routines, or patterns that provide safety but no real progress. These might include avoiding challenging tasks, sticking to familiar environments, or repeating the same methods because they feel predictable. Comfort zones often masquerade as stability, but in reality they restrict potential. Awareness of these boundaries is essential because one cannot exceed what is not acknowledged. Understand the psychological mechanisms that enforce comfort. The mind resists change because uncertainty triggers stress and perceived risk. Familiar routines provide safety signals, reinforcing the status quo even when progress is at stake. Recognizing this resistance as natural rather than a personal flaw allows deliberate action. Pushing past discomfort becomes a skill exercised with intention rather than a source of guilt or frustration. Start with calculated risks. Stepping beyond comfort does not mean blind leaps into chaos. Identify actions that challenge ability, test resilience, or confront fear while remaining manageable. For example, tackling a difficult conversation, learning a new skill, or presenting in front of a small audience may trigger discomfort, but are achievable. Gradual exposure to challenge builds confidence, mental fortitude, and tolerance for uncertainty, preparing the mind for progressively larger obstacles. Embrace the unfamiliar as a teacher. Discomfort signals areas where growth is possible. If a task feels difficult, confusing, or intimidating, it is precisely where development lies. Viewing discomfort as informative rather than threatening shifts perception from avoidance to curiosity. Each challenge reveals limitations, skill gaps, or untapped potential, offering insight for deliberate improvement. Establish clear objectives before stepping beyond comfort. Uncertainty is less intimidating when the goal is precise and meaningful. Knowing the reason for venturing into discomfort aligns motivation with purpose. Goals provide direction, ensuring that effort is focused on productive growth rather than random experimentation. With clarity, even unfamiliar tasks become manageable because the desired outcome guides action. Develop routines that incorporate regular exposure to challenge. Pushing beyond comfort should not be sporadic, but systematic. Daily or weekly practices that stretch skills, test endurance, or confront fear create momentum. Over time, the nervous system adapts, reducing resistance and increasing confidence. Regular, incremental expansion of limits creates sustainable growth, rather than sporadic bursts of bravery followed by retreat. Monitor emotional responses to discomfort. Fear, hesitation, and anxiety are natural reactions when stepping into unfamiliar territory. Instead of allowing these feelings to dictate action, observe them objectively. Identify the source of the emotion, acknowledge it, and proceed with deliberate steps. Mastery over discomfort is built through repeated exposure and conscious management of emotional reactions rather than avoidance. Visualize successful navigation of challenges. Before engaging in tasks that provoke discomfort, mentally rehearse performance. Imagine handling obstacles with composure, responding effectively under pressure, and achieving desired results. Visualization aligns mental preparedness with action, reducing uncertainty and increasing confidence. The mind responds to vivid rehearsal as though the challenge has already been faced, making real-world execution more seamless. Seek environments that naturally challenge capability. Surrounding oneself with ambitious peers, high standards, or dynamic conditions forces adaptation. When the environment pushes limits, growth accelerates because effort must increase to maintain alignment. Avoiding such contexts reinforces comfort, while deliberate immersion in challenging situations fosters skill, resilience, and confidence. Track progress and reflect on experiences beyond comfort. Each instance of pushing limits provides data about capacity, resilience, and decision-making. Document successes, setbacks, and insights gained from navigating discomfort. Reviewing these experiences reinforces learning, reveals patterns, and strengthens the mind's expectation that challenge is survivable and rewarding. The record itself becomes motivational, demonstrating that each uncomfortable step produces tangible growth. Adopt the mindset of experimentation. Treat uncomfortable situations as tests rather than judgments. This reduces fear of failure because outcomes are framed as information rather than final verdicts on ability. Approaching challenge as experimentation encourages curiosity, risk-taking, and creative problem solving. The mind learns to value process over immediate result, which strengthens perseverance and enhances skill acquisition. Balance risk with preparation. Venturing beyond comfort is most effective when grounded in competence. Adequate knowledge, skill development, and planning reduce unnecessary danger while maintaining the growth-inducing discomfort. Preparation ensures that challenges are productive rather than reckless, maximizing the opportunity to expand limits while minimizing unnecessary setbacks. Celebrate courage as well as outcomes. The act of confronting discomfort itself is a victory, regardless of immediate results. Acknowledging the bravery to act despite fear reinforces confidence and creates positive reinforcement for future challenges. Each deliberate push beyond comfort strengthens mental and emotional resilience, making subsequent challenges easier to face. Gradually escalate difficulty over time. Continuous growth requires that limits are progressively extended. After successfully navigating one level of discomfort, identify the next threshold. Incremental escalation prevents stagnation while avoiding burnout. Each step builds capacity, ensuring that expansion of limits is sustainable and cumulative rather than overwhelming or discouraging. Leverage accountability to maintain consistency in pushing beyond comfort. Sharing intentions and progress with mentors, peers, or accountability partners increases commitment. External observation creates stakes that encourage follow-through and reduces the likelihood of retreat when discomfort becomes significant. Accountability reinforces both discipline and courage, transforming intention into persistent action. Reframe failures encountered beyond comfort as lessons rather than defeats. Pushing limits inherently carries risk of mistakes or setbacks. Treating these experiences as feedbacks strengthens resilience and reinforces the habit of learning from challenge. Each misstep reveals areas for refinement and adaptation, ensuring that even unsuccessful efforts contribute to growth. Cultivate self-awareness in the process. Reflect on personal responses to discomfort, noting patterns of hesitation, fear, or avoidance. Understanding internal tendencies allows for targeted strategies to overcome resistance. Awareness of both psychological and physical reactions enhances control, enabling deliberate, focused action rather than reactive retreat. Integrate rewards for stepping beyond comfort. Recognizing effort, courage, or progress reinforces the habit of embracing challenge. Rewards need not be extravagant. Even small acknowledgement or reflection on achievement strengthens neural pathways that associate growth with positive reinforcement. Celebrating progress builds momentum and enhances willingness to face future discomfort. Push beyond comfort zones not only builds skill but also expands perception of possibility. The mind adjusts to new levels of effort, adaptability, and endurance. What once seemed impossible becomes achievable, fears are recalibrated, and confidence grows. Over time, limitations imposed by habit or fear are replaced by a mindset of capability and courage, enabling consistent pursuit of increasingly ambitious goals. Ultimately, stepping beyond comfort transforms identity. Individuals no longer see themselves as constrained by fear, routine, or limitations. Each deliberate act of courage reshapes perception of personal capability. Growth becomes habitual, confidence self-reinforcing, and potential ever-expanding. The willingness to confront discomfort repeatedly ensures that achievement is not dependent on circumstances, but emerges from cultivated resilience, discipline, and determination. Pushing beyond comfort zone limits is a disciplined practice that produces transformative results. By identifying boundaries, confronting fear, escalating challenge incrementally, and reflecting on each experience, the mind and body expand in capability. The discomfort that initially triggers resistance becomes the engine of growth, skill acquisition, and confidence. Over time, repeated exposure to challenge ensures that limits are not static, but continuously redefined, producing momentum, mastery, and extraordinary achievement that would be impossible within the confines of comfort. Number 10. Commit fully. Ignore outside doubts. True commitment is the unwavering foundation upon which extraordinary achievement is built. Half-hearted effort rarely produces lasting results. Every significant accomplishment requires a level of dedication that absorbs attention, energy, and focus completely. External doubts, criticism, or skepticism are inevitable whenever one aims for something ambitious. Listening too closely to others' opinions can dilute effort, distract focus, and erode confidence. To achieve goals that shock everyone, full commitment is necessary, accompanied by the discipline to ignore outside noise and concentrate entirely on the path forward. Commitment begins with clarity of purpose. Understanding exactly why a goal matters, how it aligns with values, and what it will require in time and effort, creates a firm internal anchor. Without this clarity, commitment wavers at the first challenge or discouraging comment. Internal conviction acts as a shield, allowing one to move decisively even when outside influences suggest doubt or delay. Knowing the significance of your goal transforms effort from optional to essential. Prioritize action over opinion. Many people will offer advice, express skepticism, or attempt to influence your choices. While some guidance can be valuable, the majority of external voices reflect projection, fear, or limited perspective. Distinguishing between constructive input and irrelevant noise is critical. Focus attention on your plan, your daily steps, and measurable progress rather than on speculation or criticism from those who do not share your vision. Eliminate hesitation caused by fear of judgment. Commitment requires moving forward even when others question capability or predict failure. Listening to doubt breeds hesitation, reducing speed and efficiency. By trusting your preparation, strategy, and capability, you maintain momentum and avoid the paralysis that arises from external commentary. Full engagement with your goal necessitates prioritizing action over impression. Embrace the intensity of complete engagement. Committing fully means devoting consistent effort without reservation. This does not imply recklessness or burnout, but a conscious choice to invest energy, time, and focus in alignment with the objective. Every decision, task, and priority is evaluated through the lens of how it advances the goal. Distractions are minimized, and attention is concentrated on what truly matters. Develop resilience against negativity. Criticism, doubt, and skepticism are natural responses when others observe ambition. Many people project limitations, fears, or envy onto those striving for more. Recognizing these reactions as reflections of their perspective rather than truth prevents external negativity from infiltrating determination. Resilience is strengthened when effort is guided by personal conviction rather than external approval. Anchor commitment in routines and rituals. Daily habits reinforce dedication by making consistent effort automatic. Structured routines reduce reliance on fluctuating motivation and provide tangible evidence of sustained engagement. Rituals of preparation, reflection, and action maintain alignment with goals, ensuring that commitment remains unwavering even during fatigue, setbacks, or uncertainty. Visualize the consequences of wavering commitment. Consider the potential cost of distraction, hesitation, or succumbing to doubt. Understanding the impact of divided focus reinforces the importance of steadfast effort. Conversely, envisioning the benefits of sustained, uncompromising dedication strengthens motivation and fuels persistence. Mental rehearsal of both outcomes heightens awareness of the stakes and reinforces consistent action. Surround yourself with supportive influences selectively. While most outside voices are irrelevant or counterproductive, alignment with individuals who encourage focus and accountability enhances commitment. Interaction with people who share discipline, ambition, or expertise provides reinforcement, guidance, and motivation. Careful selection of influence allows one to draw energy from external sources without succumbing to doubt or distraction. Commitment requires endurance through uncertainty. Goals of magnitude inevitably involve ambiguity, setbacks, and unexpected obstacles. Remaining fully engaged despite these conditions strengthens both skill and character. The ability to continue acting decisively, adjusting strategies, and persevering in the face of unpredictability defines long-term success. External doubt is irrelevant when internal focus remains resolute. Develop a mental framework that separates opinion from fact. Most external doubt reflects belief or bias rather than evidence. Treat such doubt as noise, not guidance. Full commitment relies on data, preparation, and consistent execution rather than the fluctuating judgment of others. This framework reduces vulnerability to discouragement, ensuring that effort is aligned with reality rather than speculation. Reinforce commitment through self-accountability. Regularly monitor progress, evaluate adherence to plans, and adjust behaviors when necessary. Accountability provides internal confirmation that effort matches intention. This internal feedback loop reduces the impact of outside criticism and reinforces the habit of sustained engagement with goals, ensuring consistency and alignment. Anchor action in principles rather than results alone. Commitment rooted in values and process is more resilient than commitment tied solely to outcomes. External opinions rarely consider the underlying principles that guide effort. By prioritizing disciplined action, preparation, and consistent habits, achievement becomes inevitable, while skepticism or negativity from others loses influence. Celebrate milestones privately to maintain focus. Recognizing progress reinforces commitment without relying on external validation. Internal acknowledgement strengthens confidence, solidifies effort, and motivates continuation. Celebrating in this way preserves energy for further action, while preventing distractions that arise from seeking approval. Prepare mentally for persistent challenges. Doubts from others are inevitable, but so too are internal struggles, fatigue, frustration, and temporary discouragement. Full commitment requires training the mind to persist, stay disciplined, and maintain clarity even under pressure. Developing mental endurance ensures that obstacles, whether external or internal, do not derail consistent action. Commitment is demonstrated through consistent, repeated action. Words, intentions, or plans alone are insufficient. Daily, deliberate execution of tasks, adherence to schedules, and pursuit of micro-goals build cumulative momentum. Each action reinforces dedication, strengthens habits, and creates tangible evidence that ambition is not fleeting but deeply rooted. Ignore comparison to others. Commitment is individual, reflecting personal goals, values, and capabilities. External doubts often arise from comparisons, envy, or misunderstanding. Measuring progress against one's own objectives and standards preserves focus, strengthens identity, and minimizes the disruptive influence of opinion. The ability to act independently is a hallmark of unwavering dedication. Develop an internal dialogue that supports commitment, self-encouragement, reinforcement of purpose, and acknowledgement of capability counterbalance external doubt. When criticism or skepticism arises, respond mentally with clarity, confidence, and focus. Internal reinforcement sustains energy, reduces susceptibility to distraction, and strengthens perseverance in the face of external challenges. Integrate flexibility within commitment. While dedication is unwavering, the path may require adaptation. Ignoring outside doubt does not mean ignoring reality. Evaluate conditions, adjust tactics, and refine strategies as necessary, but maintain focus on the goal. This combination of flexibility and determination ensures that effort remains productive and aligned with ultimate objectives. Commitment transforms obstacles into opportunity. Fully engaged effort allows challenges to be addressed with focus, creativity, and resilience. External doubt becomes irrelevant because the mind is preoccupied with problem solving rather than justification. Every barrier encountered is a chance to demonstrate resolve, refine methods, and advance toward the goal. Finally, maintain persistence until completion. Full commitment is defined not by intent, but by sustained execution until the objective is realized. Ignore skepticism, distractions, and transient doubt. Each step, repeated consistently, reinforces momentum and solidifies progress. Dedication, unwavering focus, and deliberate action ensure that the goal moves from aspiration to reality, producing results that are undeniable, transformative, and capable of shocking everyone who witnesses them. Commit fully and ignore outside doubts to achieve extraordinary success. Total dedication amplifies effort, strengthens resilience, and ensures that external opinions cannot derail progress. By anchoring focus, executing deliberate action, and maintaining belief in one's capacity, the path toward monumental goals becomes clear, consistent, and unstoppable. Commitment is the engine that converts vision into achievement, creating outcomes that speak louder than words or skepticism ever could.